The door slammed open like a gunshot in the dead of night, and there he was, Sean, my roommate, eyes blazing with a fury I'd never seen, clutching his phone like it was a smoking gun. "You're full of shit, Cody," he spat, voice cracking like thunder over the bay, his words slicing through the humid San Francisco air that clung to our cramped dorm room. I froze mid-laugh from the text I'd just sent to another hookup, my heart slamming against my ribs as the lie I'd built my life on crumbled in an instant. I bolted upright on my bed, the sheets tangling around my legs like the mess I'd made of everything. The glow from my phone screen lit up the room in a harsh blue, mocking me with the half-typed message to Jake, some guy from the bar last week, all easy smiles and no strings. Sean stood there in his rumpled UC Berkeley hoodie, the one with the faded yellow Cal logo, his chestnut hair a wild halo under the fluorescent hall light spilling in. He'd always been the steady one, the communications major who could talk his way out of anything, who mediated drunk arguments in the lounge with that disarming grin. But tonight, that grin was gone, replaced by something raw, something that looked a hell of a lot like betrayal. "What the fuck, man?" I stammered, shoving my phone under the pillow like a kid hiding contraband. My voice came out too high, too defensive, the kind of tone that screams guilt before you even open your mouth. The dorm room smelled like stale pizza and the weed we'd smoked earlier. Innocent enough then, just two bros unwinding after midterms. Now it choked me, thick with the weight of what he'd seen. Sean didn't move, just held up his phone. The screen angled so I could make out the screenshot. My Grindr profile, the one I'd sworn was just for blowing off steam. The bio stared back at me, fun-loving guy seeking no-drama nights in the city. And below it, a chat log with half a dozen guys. Timestamps from the past month alone. How? I'd been careful, deleting histories, using incognito modes like they were my lifeline. But Sean, with his journalism ethics and that uncanny knack for piecing together puzzles, had cracked it wide open. Maybe he'd borrowed my laptop for that group project last week. Or perhaps it was the careless password I'd shared months ago. Didn't matter now. The damage was done. "You're a player, Cody," he said, quieter this time, but it hit harder, like a gut punch from someone you love. All this time, acting like we're building something real, late-night talks, road trips to Big Sur, sharing playlists like it means something, and you're out there treating guys like disposable takeout. Do you even know what that does to people? I swung my legs over the bed, feet hitting the cold linoleum floor, buying time to scramble for words. The truth? I'd always been this way. Grew up in a sleepy suburb outside Sacramento, where being gay meant whispers and side eyes from the football jocks who were secretly checking you out in the locker room. Dad was a cop, Mom a teacher. Good people, but the kind who prayed extra hard at church for guidance. So I learned early. Keep it casual, keep it hidden. Hookups were safe, no hearts involved, no risk of the rejection that could shatter you. College was supposed to be my escape. Berkeley's liberal bubble where rainbow flags flew from every balcony. But Sean? He was the glitch in my system. We'd met freshman year, randomly assigned to this shoebox of a double in Unit 3. He was from Portland, all flannel shirts and indie folk playlists. Majoring in communications because he wanted to tell stories that matter. I was undeclared then, drifting through psych classes and keggers, charming my way into beds without ever staying for breakfast. Sean saw through the charm from day one but never called me on it. Instead, he dragged me to poetry slams in the Mission, force-fed me vegan burritos from the taqueria on Telegraph, and listened when I vented about my folks back home. "You're more than the party guy, Codes?" he'd say, clapping my shoulder with that warm hand that lingered just a second too long. Lately, though, those seconds had stretched into minutes. We'd started crashing on the same couch during Netflix binges, our thighs brushing like it was accidental. Last weekend, on that spontaneous drive to the coast, we'd parked at McWay Falls, the turquoise water crashing below, and he'd turned to me with those hazel eyes, saying, "You ever think about what it'd be like if we weren't just roommates?" My pulse had raced, but I'd laughed it off. "Nah, man, we're golden as is." Coward. Because deep down, in the quiet hours when the city hummed outside our window, I knew I wanted more. Wanted him, but players don't fall. They bounce. Now, here we were, the air electric with unspoken what-ifs. "Sean, listen. It's not like that," I started, standing up too fast, the room spinning a little from the earlier buzz. "Those guys? They're nothing. Just distractions. You and me, that's different." He laughed, bitter and sharp, crossing his arms over his chest. "Different how? Because I let you in? Because I thought maybe you were ready to be real." He stepped closer, close enough I could smell his cedar cologne mixed with the salt of unshed tears. "I saw the messages, Cody. To that dude from the gym, the one you ghosted after. Great time, catch you later. Like it's a fucking transaction. And then you come home and curl up next to me like we're soulmates." My throat tightened, a hot flush creeping up my neck. He wasn't wrong. After Jake last Tuesday, I'd stumbled back at 2 a.m., reeking of cheap whiskey and regret, and Sean had stirred awake, mumbling, "Rough night." I'd slid under the covers on his side of the room, our beds pushed together after a hailstorm that never happened, and he'd pulled me close without a word. That was us. Tangled limbs and half-confessions, teetering on the edge of something profound. But I'd sabotaged it before it could tip over, because what if he saw the real me? The scared kid under the swagger, and walked away? "It's not fair," I whispered, hating how small I sounded. "You don't get to judge me when you've got your perfect life all mapped out." Sean's eyes softened for a split second, then hardened again. "Perfect? My parents disowned me when I came out senior year. I clawed my way here on scholarships and side gigs. And you? You're throwing away something good because you're too chicken shit to commit." He tossed his phone onto my bed, the screenshot glaring up like an accusation. "I'm done pretending this is just bromance. But if you're gonna keep playing the field, play it without me." He turned toward the door, shoulders slumped, and something inside me fractured. "Sean, wait." I grabbed his arm, the muscle tense under my fingers, and for the first time, I didn't let go. The hallway light caught the curve of his jaw, the faint stubble I'd traced with my thumb just last night during a tipsy heart-to-heart. Panic clawed at my chest. Not just fear of losing him, but the dawning horror that I'd already lost myself somewhere along the way. He shrugged me off gently, but paused, hand on the knob. "Fix this, Cody. Or don't. But figure out who you are before you drag someone else down with you." Then he was gone, the door clicking shut with a finality that echoed through the empty room. I sank back onto the bed, the phone's glow fading as the battery died, mirroring the dimming light in my soul. Outside, the fog rolled in thick over the bay, swallowing the city lights one by one. And in that suffocating silence, I realized the player wasn't invincible. He was just a boy terrified of the one game worth playing. The next morning hit like a hangover from hell. Pounding head, dry mouth, and a knot in my gut that no amount of coffee from the Peabody's cart could untie. I dragged myself to my 9 a.m. psych lecture, but Professor Ramirez's drone about attachment styles washed over me like white noise. All I could see was Sean's face, that mix of hurt and fire, replaying on loop. By noon, I was back in the dorm, staring at the corkboard we'd tacked up with Polaroids. Us at the Greek theater concert, arms slung around each other, grins wide under string lights. A blurry shot from our Yosemite hike, Sean mid-laugh as I photobombed with a peace sign. Evidence of a friendship that had bloomed into something deeper, something I'd watered with lies. I texted him first, simple, desperate. "Can we talk? Coffee at the Bean Scene." No reply. His comm seminar ran till 2, so I killed time pacing the room, replaying every stolen glance, every brush of hands over shared takeout. Sean wasn't like the others. He didn't chase the thrill. He built connections, wove stories from fragments of truth. That's what drew me in, his quiet intensity, the way he'd quote Whitman during our late-night bull sessions. We were together. I forget the rest. God, if only. When his key finally turned in the lock, I was perched on the edge of my bed, heart jackhammering. He looked wrecked, dark circles under his eyes, hair uncombed, that same hoodie from last night like a shield. "Hey," he muttered, avoiding my gaze as he dumped his backpack by the desk. "Hey." I stood, hands shoved in my pockets to keep from reaching out. About last night. I fucked up. Royally. He nodded, sinking into his desk chair, fiddling with a pen. Yeah, you did. The bluntness stung, but it was honest Sean's brand of truth serum. I took a breath, the words tumbling out in a rush. Look, the app, the guys, it's my armor. Back home, being queer was like walking a tightrope over hellfire. One wrong step and boom, family barbecue turns into intervention. So I kept it light, no attachments. Safe. I met his eyes then, pleading. But you're not safe. You're everything. And that scares the shit out of me. He leaned back, studying me like one of his case studies. Then why keep swiping? Why risk it all? Because I'm an idiot. I admitted, a wry laugh escaping. Thought I could compartmentalize. You in one box, the rest in another. But last night, seeing you like that, it hit me. I'm not playing anymore. Not with you. Silence stretched, thick as the fog outside. Then Sean sighed, rubbing his temples. I don't know if I can just flip a switch, Cody. Trust isn't a light bulb. It's the stories we tell each other, the ones that stick. He paused, voice softening. But I want to believe you. Hell, I do. Because these past months, they've been the best of my life. Relief flooded me, warm and tentative. I crossed the room in 2 strides, dropping to my knees in front of his chair, dramatic. Yeah. But fuck it. Let me prove it. Delete the app. Block the numbers. Whatever it takes. His hand found my hair, fingers threading gently, and for a moment we just breathed there, the world narrowing to that touch. Okay, he whispered finally. But slow. No more secrets. We sealed it with a kiss, soft at first, exploratory, then deepening like the pull of the tide. His lips tasted like mint gum and hope, his body yielding against mine as I rose to meet him. It wasn't fireworks. It was a quiet anchoring, the kind that promises storms ahead but vows to weather them together. That night, we ordered Thai from the spot on Shattuck, sprawling on the floor with pillows barricading us from the world. Sean queued up his rainy day playlist, Bon Iver crooning about skin and bones, and we talked, really talked, about his ex in high school, the one who bailed when things got too gay for his closeted ass. About my first crush, the swim team captain who cornered me in the showers with slurs instead of kisses. Laughter mixed with tears, the raw edges of our stories knitting us closer. By week's end, we'd told our friends, small circle, but tight. Mia from his comms cohort hugged us both at the Free Speech Movement Cafe, declaring us the rom-com we'd all been rooting for. Even my buddy Tyler, the lacrosse bro who'd long suspected my experimental phase, clapped me on the back with a "knew you had it in ya" codes, but doubt lingered, a shadow in the corners. Late one night, as Sean's head rested on my chest, his breathing steady in sleep, I stared at the ceiling cracks mapping out like fault lines. Could I really change? The itch was there, faint but insistent, the old habit whispering temptations. I shoved it down, focusing on the rise and fall of his ribs against mine. For him, I'd try. For us, little did I know the real test was coming, wrapped in the guise of opportunity. Sean's big pitch for his senior project, a documentary on queer youth in the Bay Area, landed him an internship at KQED, the public radio station downtown. This is it, Cody. He beamed over breakfast burritos, eyes alight. Real exposure. Stories that could change lives. I high-fived him, pride swelling, but underneath, a flicker of envy. My own path was murkier, finally declaring in graphic design, but gigs were scarce, and the itch for quick thrills morphed into restlessness. Proud of you, babe, I said, meaning it, and I was. But as he dashed off to meetings, leaving me with empty afternoons, the city started to feel like a siren call. It started innocently. A freelance logo job for a queer bar in the Castro. Networking drinks turned into lingering glances from the bartender. A tattooed Adonis named Riley, with a laugh like gravel and honey. You seeing anyone? He asked, sliding me a free shot, our fingers brushing over the sticky bar top. Just focusing on me. I lied, the old script rolling off my tongue. One drink became 2. Then a quick tour of the back room that ended with his mouth on mine, hot and urgent against the graffiti wall. It was electric, mindless, the rush I'd craved. But as I pulled away, zipping up with shaking hands, guilt crashed in like a wave. Sean's face flashed, his trust, his vulnerability. What the fuck was I doing? I ghosted Riley, deleted the bar's number, and vowed silence. Buried it deep, like the Sacramento summers I'd left behind. Sean came home glowing from his first taping, collapsing into my arms with tales of raw interviews. Kids like us, finding their voices amid the noise. "You're my anchor, Codes," he murmured, nuzzling my neck. I held him tighter, the secret festering like an untreated wound. Weeks blurred into a fragile rhythm. Stolen mornings in our twin beds pushed flush, his sketches of radio scripts scattered amid my design mock-ups. We hiked Twin Peaks one crisp fall day, the city sprawling below like a promise, and at the summit, he dropped to one knee. Not with a ring, but a keychain etched with "Together, we broadcast." Corny as hell, but it melted me, that earnest heart of his. Yet the lie gnawed. Sleepless nights, I'd slip out for runs that circled back to the Castro, fighting the pull. Sean noticed the shadows under my eyes, chalking it up to deadlines. "Talk to me," he'd urge, but I couldn't. Not without shattering us. The crack came at his screening party, a cozy loft in Oakland packed with film nerds and activists. I nursed a beer in the corner, beaming as his short film rolled, grainy footage of tear-streaked faces sharing coming-out stories, underscored by his voiceover. In the silence, we find our signal. Pride swelled, but so did the nausea. Riley was there, somehow, invited through a mutual from the bar scene. Leaning against the wall, eyes locking on mine across the room with a smirk that said he knew. Sean, flushed from applause, found me later on the fire escape, the bay twinkling below. "You okay?" Looked spooked. "Just overwhelmed?" I mumbled, pulling him close. Our kiss was fierce, reclaiming. But as his hands roamed, Riley's gaze burned from the window. I broke away, heart pounding. "Let's get out of here." Back in the dorm, we made love slow and deliberate, mapping each other's scars with lips and whispers. "I love you," he breathed against my skin, the words a lifeline. "Love you too," I echoed, meaning it more than ever. But in the afterglow, as he slept, I grabbed my phone. One last delete, one final purge. Clean slate, or so I thought. The next morning, a knock, sharp, insistent. Sean answered, and there stood Riley, envelope in hand. "Heard about the screening. Congrats. This is for Cody," portfolio thing from the bar. Sean's brow furrowed. "Cody? You two know each other?" Riley's grin widened, predatory. "Oh yeah, intimately." The room tilted. Sean's eyes flicked to me, confusion hardening to ice. "Cody?" I froze, the lie dying on my lips. Riley sauntered in, dropping the envelope like a gauntlet. "Tell him, man, about that night in the back room. How you said you were single, looking for fun." Sean's face drained of color. "Back room? What the?" "It was nothing," I blurted, but it sounded hollow, even to me. Riley laughed, low and cruel. "Nothing?" He had his hands all over me. "Sean, right after your little hike date, from the looks of it." Betrayal, pure, visceral, flashed in Sean's eyes. He turned to me, voice a whisper shatter. "Is this true?" The weight crushed me. No more running. "Yeah," I choked out. But I stopped. "I swear, it was a mistake." "A mistake," he recoiled, hands trembling. "While we're building this, while I'm pouring my soul into us." Tears welled, hot and unbidden. "I thought you were done playing. I believed you." Riley shifted, awkward now. "Shit, didn't mean to blow it up. Just thought he should know." He backed out, door slamming like punctuation. Sean sank to the bed, head in hands. "Get out, Cody. Just go." "Sean, please." I reached for him, but he flinched. "Out." The word echoed, final as a gavel. I stumbled into the hall, the city a blur through stinging eyes. The fog had lifted, exposing everything raw under the sun. I'd fallen hard for the one guy who saw me whole. And in trying to protect that, I'd destroyed it. The streets of Berkeley swallowed me whole that afternoon, a labyrinth of bike messengers and street poets blurring into a haze of regret. I wandered aimlessly, past the co-op where we'd splurged on organic strawberries last spring, down Telegraph Avenue where Sean had buskied with his guitar for extra cash, his voice, rich, resonant, drawing tips from passers-by. Every corner screamed our story, the one I'd tainted with my weakness. My phone buzzed in my pocket, texts from friends asking about the party, a missed call from mom back home. I silenced it all, the silence a deserved punishment. By dusk, I ended up at People's Park, that gritty heart of 60s rebellion, now a patchwork of tents and protest signs. I slumped against a eucalyptus tree, the bark rough against my back, and let the tears come, ugly, wrenching sobs that shook me to the core. How had I let it get this far? The player facade, born from fear, had morphed into a monster, devouring the best thing in my life. Sean wasn't just a roommate or a fling. He was my mirror, reflecting the man I could be if I dared. And I'd smashed it. Night fell cold and unforgiving, the park's underbelly stirring with shadows. A grizzled vet offered me a smoke. I took it, inhaling deep, the burn a pale echo of the ache inside. "Rough day, kid?" he rasped, settling beside me. "You could say that." My voice cracked, and the dam broke again, spilling it all to the stranger, words tumbling like confessions in a dive bar booth. The hookups, the hiding, the way Sean's light had pierced my darkness only for me to snuff it out. He nodded slow, exhaling smoke rings into the stars. "Love's a battlefield, son. But betrayal? That's friendly fire. Hurts worst, 'cause you know the aim." He clapped my shoulder, ambling off into the night, leaving me with his wisdom and a half-smoked cig. I crashed at Tyler's that night, his off-campus apartment a mess of protein shakes and lacrosse gear. "Dude," he said, tossing me a blanket after hearing the Cliff's Notes version. "Sean's solid. But you're a hot mess. Fix your shit or lose him for good." Morning brought clarity, sharp as the espresso he brewed. I couldn't just apologize. Words were Sean's domain, not mine. Actions, that's what graphic design taught, building visuals that spoke louder than scripts. By noon, I was at the campus makerspace, fingers flying over my tablet, sketching a storyboard. Frames of our life together, annotated with the truths I'd withheld. The Polaroids come alive, but fractured, me in the shadows, Sean in light, culminating in a mended image of us on that rooftop, whole. I printed it rough, a zine of sorts, and headed back to the dorm, heart in my throat. The door was ajar, Sean's voice murmuring on the phone. His mom, from the snippets, patching up old wounds with soft reassurances. I knocked light, slipping in when he hung up, red-eyed but composed. Cody, neutral, guarded. He sat at his desk, laptop open to edits on his next project. "I know you set out, but this." I slid the zine across, watching his hands, artist's hands, calloused from strings and keys, flip through the pages. Each frame peeled back a layer. The Sacramento kid dodging slurs, the Berkeley player chasing highs, the man waking to Sean's smile and realizing home wasn't a place but a person. He lingered on the last page, our rooftop embrace sketched in tender lines, captioned, "You exposed me, not as a player, but as someone worth saving." Silence stretched, then his finger traced the edge, a tear splashing onto the paper. "It's beautiful," he whispered, "but beauty doesn't erase pain." "I know." I knelt again, that vulnerable pose feeling less like drama now, more like surrender. "I went back to the bar today, told Riley everything. How I used him to dodge us, how sorry I am for the mess, blocked him, deleted everything. And therapy, signed up for the queer counseling group on campus. Starting Monday." Sean's eyes searched mine, probing for cracks. "Why now? Really?" "Because losing you showed me the cost. You're not a phase, Sean. You're the plot twist I didn't see coming, the one that makes the story worth telling." I took his hand, thumb stroking his knuckles. "I fell for you that night you called me out. Hard. and I'll spend every day proving I'm all in. He pulled me up, into his arms, the hug fierce and forgiving. It'll be work, he murmured into my hair. Trust rebuilds slow, like a signal fading in and out. I'm here for the static, I promised, and we kissed, salt-tanged, healing. The weeks that followed were a delicate dance, tentative steps towards solid ground. Sean threw himself into his internship, commuting the BART to the city, coming home with tales of studio sessions and celebrity cameos that made my designer heart jealous. I'd counter with mock-ups for his film posters, sleek vectors capturing the essence of his voiceovers. Evenings we'd cook, badly. Stir-fries charred at the edges but shared with laughter, or venture to the Ashby flea market, haggling over vinyls and vintage teas. Intimacy rebuilt layer by layer. First touches hesitant, seeking permission in every graze. Then bolder, nights where we'd explore with the lights on. No shadows for secrets. You're safe, he'd whisper during those vulnerable hours, and I'd believe it, body and soul. But scars linger, and mine itched under the surface. A group project paired me with a flirty illustrator from SF State. Alex, sharp wit, inked arms that flexed distractingly over his sketchpad. We make a good team, he'd say, leaning close during critiques, his cologne a subtle invasion. I shut it down polite but firm, recounting every near-miss to Sean over post-class foe. Proud of you, he'd say, squeezing my hand under the table, his trust a bomb. Thanksgiving loomed, a hurdle neither wanted. My folks expected the prodigal son. His radio silence since the disownment. Road trip, I suggested, plotting a detour to Portland for his sister, the one ally he'd kept. Meet the fam on neutral ground. Sean hesitated, then grinned. You're on. But if your dad grills me, you're running interference. The drive up I-5 was pure Americana. Dive diners with bottomless coffee. Playlists shuffling from Sean's folk to my hip-hop. Windows down to let the evergreens whip by. We stopped at a roadside motel outside Eugene, the neon vacancy sign flickering like a heartbeat. Inside, the room smelled of pine cleaner and possibility. No dorm walls, just us. We made love with the rain pattering the roof, slow and reverent, his body arching under mine like a bridge rebuilt. Portland welcomed us with drizzle and hipster charm. Sean's sister, Lena, a barista with his eyes and zero filter, hugged us at the airport cafe. So, you're the one who tamed my brother's wild heart, she teased, sliding me a lavender latte. Over pierogies at her tiny apartment, stories flowed, childhood escapades, the coming-out call that bonded them forever. He's a softie, she confided later, as Sean napped on her couch. Don't break him again. I won't, I vowed, meaning it bone deep. My turn came in Sacramento, the flat sprawl of suburbia hitting like a time warp. Dad's handshake was firm, wary. Mom's hug tentative, scented with Chanel No. 5. This your friend? Dad grunted over ribs, eyes flicking between us. Boyfriend? Sean supplied, casual as ordering tacos, his hands steady on my knee under the table. Pride surged, hot and fierce. The dinner dragged. Small talk about the force, school, weather. But Sean's easy chatter thawed the ice, drawing laughs from Dad about kids these days and their gadgets. Later, washing dishes with Mom, she touched my arm. He seems good for you, Cody. Steady. Her eyes, misty, held questions unasked. We're trying, Mom. Really? She nodded, squeezing once. That's all we want. Driving back south, the Sierras dusted with early snow, Sean turned to me at a Vista pullout. You did good, Codes. Faced the ghosts. We did. I kissed him there, wind tousling our hair, the valley stretching endless below. For the first time, the future didn't scare me. It beckoned. Christmas brought magic. String lights in the dorm. A tree scavenged from the lot on San Pablo. Ornaments we DIY'd from scrap paper. Sean's gift. A custom leather journal for my designs. Embossed with our story. Hit like a promise. Mine to him. A short film I'd edited on my laptop. Clips of us stitched with his voiceover samples. Titled, Signal Found. New Year's Eve, we joined the chaos on Market Street, the Castro pulsing with drag queens and fireworks. As the ball dropped in distant Times Square, we found a quiet alley, his back against the brick, my hands framing his face. To us, he toasted with a stolen champagne flute. To broadcasting, I replied, and the kiss sealed it, the city erupting around us. Spring semester dawned with promise. Sean's doc premiered at the Pacific Film Festival, a sold-out house in the Castro Theater applauding his name. I sat front row, chest bursting, as the credits rolled, dedicated to Cody, my co-star in life. After party at the bar. Irony noted, but Riley long gone. We danced till dawn, bodies pressed in the throng, sweat slick and alive. Yet, as cherry blossoms hit campus paths, a shadow crept. My internship offer from a flashy Soma agency. Relocation to the city full-time. It's huge, I told Sean over dim sum. Excitement laced with dread. But the commute. We'd barely see each other. He chewed thoughtfully, chopsticks paused. Or, we make it work. Sublet here, crash at mine on weekends. Distance tests, doesn't break. Doubt flickered. You sure? With your radio gig ramping up. His smile was steady. We're signals, remember? We adapt frequencies. We dove in, packing boxes amid laughter and last-minute hookups on the dorm floor. Moving day, Mia helped lug furniture, blasting Chapel Roan. You two are disgustingly cute, she groaned, but her grin said otherwise. The new apartment in the Mission was a shoebox with exposed brick and a fire escape view of murals. First night, we christened it with takeout and tangled sheets. The city hum a lullaby. But adaptation wasn't seamless. My days blurred into late nights at the agency. Client pitches, endless revisions. While Sean's shifts at KQED left him drained. Voice hoarse from broadcasts. Dinners became texts, intimacy sporadic. Miss you? I'd type at 1 a.m. His reply a sleepy heart emoji. The strain built subtle. A forgotten anniversary faux run. My irritation at his just one more interview cancellations. One night, post-argument over dishes. Stupid, heated. I stormed out, ending up at a colleague's bar crawl in Soma. Martinis flowed. A cute copywriter named Theo leaning in with, "You look like you need this." His touch was light, tempting, the old itch flaring. I pulled back, beer turning sour in my gut. Nah, I'm good. Home by cab. I found Sean asleep on the couch. Script pages scattered. A note. Sorry. Love you. Let's talk tomorrow. Guilt crashed anew. I curled beside him, whispering apologies into his hair. No more close calls. Therapy sessions doubled down, unpacking the player roots, building resilience. Summer hit with a heat wave, our first vacation. A road trip to Joshua Tree, rental Jeep loaded with coolers and cameras. Deserts stretched surreal, rock formations like ancient sentinels. We hiked Keys View at sunset, the valley a blaze of gold. And there, amid the silence, Sean turned to me. Marry me? Not a question, a statement, ring box materializing from his pack, simple silver band etched with radio waves. Tears blurred the vista. Yes, God, yes. We celebrated under stars, bodies entwined on a blanket, the future vast as the sky. But autumn brought the quake. Sean's big break. A producer spot at NPR West. Relocation to LA, it's the dream, he said, eyes shining over Huevos Rancheros. Podcasts, national reach, stories that echo coast to coast. My agency, thriving, rooted in the Bay. Long distance, I echoed, fork pausing. We just got solid. His hand covered mine. We can. Flights, weekends. It's not forever. Fear coiled, the old fracture lines threatening. What if it's too much? Then we pivot. His kiss was fierce. Together. Packing his boxes gutted me. Each item a memory. The journal I'd filled with sketches. His favorite flannel from our first date. Airport goodbye was a tear-streaked blur. His flight boarding as I clung. Call when you land. LA swallowed him. Late nights in studios. Networking galas that left voicemails at dawn. My texts piled up unanswered. anxiety festering. One weekend visit, he crashed hard, our time a rushed blur of sex and sleep. "Missed this," I murmured, tracing his jaw. "Me too." But his eyes, distant, betrayed the toll. The call came mid-November, rain lashing my window. "Cody, I met someone." His voice, steady as his broadcasts, cracked. "Here at work. It's not. I didn't plan. The world grade." "Who?" "Doesn't matter. It just happened. The distance, the pressure." "I'm sorry." Betrayal, reversed, sharp, poetic justice. The player becomes the played. I thought, numb. "I love you still," he rushed. "But I can't." "Stop." I hung up, the phone clattering, sobs ripping free. Days blurred into fog. Work suffered. Friends tiptoed. Therapy unpacked the echo. My old wounds reopening. Trust a casualty. But in the wreckage, growth stirred. I channeled it into designs, a series on fractured signals, exhibited at a queer art walk in Oakland. Opening night, strangers lingered, moved. "This resonates," one said. Sean's words, haunting. Months ground on. LA faded to occasional check-ins, platonic thorns. Spring brought a new project, illustrating a memoir on queer resilience. Pages turned, mirroring my own. Then summer solstice, an email. Festival in SF. "Come." His doc sequel premiering. I went. The theater hummed, his film unspooling, stories of love lost and reclaimed. A frame of us, blurred but unmistakable. Q&A, his eyes found mine in the crowd, vulnerable. After, on the fire escape, echo of our beginnings. He lit a smoke, offering half. "I fucked up. We both did. Wind off the bay, salty. But I'm better for it. Stronger." He nodded, tears glinting. "Me too." Found myself in the fallout. No grand reunion, just understanding, a bridge rebuilt as friendship. To signals, I toasted, clinking his flask. To finding the frequency. As credits rolled in my mind, the player retired, story human. Flawed, mending, enduring. The breakup lingered like bay fog that refuses to burn off, seeping into every corner of my days. I'd wake in our old Mission apartment. Now just mine, the lease a cruel reminder. To the echo of Sean's laugh in the walls, the ghost of his cologne in the sheets I'd stripped but couldn't quite air out. Work became my anchor. The agency piling on campaigns for queer nonprofits, my designs earning nods from bosses who saw the fire in my lines. "You've got edge now, Cody," my creative director said, clapping my back after a pitch for a Pride apparel line. "Edge? Yeah, that's what heartbreak carves, sharp, unyielding." Nights were harder. I'd hit the Castro haunts, but not for hookups. For community now. Poetry slams at the Café du Nord, where voices like Sean's wove tales of survival, pulling me on stage one humid July evening to spit verses about frequencies fractured, but frequencies found. Applause thundered, a bomb, and afterward, a wiry poet named Javier bought me a gin fizz, his eyes kind but not probing. "You're healing loud," he said, and I laughed. First real one in weeks, because damn if he wasn't right. Therapy dug deeper, unpacking the player blueprint. Dad's stoic silences masking his own regrets. Mom's church hymns a veil over questions she'd never voice. "You're not your patterns," Dr. Ellis said, her office overlooking the marina, sailboats bobbing like unanswered prayers. "You're the rewrite." I journaled furiously, pages filling with sketches of what-ifs. Us on that Joshua Tree blanket, alternate endings where distance bent instead of broke. Summer festivals kept me moving. SF Pride, a riot of rainbows and bass drops, where I marched with the agency's float, rainbow flag whipping in the wind. Strangers hugged, chanted, and for a moment, the ache dulled to a hum. Javier became a fixture. Coffee dates turning to gallery crawls, his hand brushing mine without pressure. He was a painter, all vibrant abstracts and quiet intensity. No communications polish but a raw honesty that soothed. "Tell me your colors," he'd ask over tapas, and I'd describe the teal of Sean's eyes, the crimson of regret, watching him nod without judgment. August brought a curveball. An offer to lead a design workshop at Cal, guest spot in the graphic arts department. Standing in that lecture hall, projector humming, I poured out lessons on visual storytelling, from fracture to form. Students leaned in, one lanky kid in the back, wide-eyed, sketching furtively, reminding me of freshman Sean. Q&A turned confessional. I shared snippets of the zine I'd made him, the one that bridged us once. Art heals what words can't, I said, and their nods fueled me, a spark reigniting. Javier came to the finale exhibit, his arm loose around my waist as we mingled. Proud, he murmured, lips grazing my temple. That night, back at his No Valley walk-up, we crossed the line, slow, consensual, his body a new map under my hands. No rush, no games, just presence. Afterward, tangled in his thrift store quilt, I whispered, "This feels right." He smiled, sleepy. "It is." Fall semester kicked off with momentum. The workshop extended, my portfolio ballooning with collabs, murals for the LGBT Historical Society, app icons for a dating platform emphasizing authentic connections. Sean's orbit pulled distant. A podcast drop he guested on, Queer Waves, interviewing folks on long-distance love's toll. I listened on my commute, his voice a familiar ache, fielding calls from exes who'd found clarity in the space. My thumb hovered over reply, but I let it fade. Growth meant boundaries. Halloween hit wild. Agency bash at a warehouse in Dogpatch, costumes mandatory. I went as a fractured radio tower, wireframe suit, static sparks from LEDs. Javier as a desert storm, billowing cape and thunder makeup. We danced till sweat slicked, his laugh cutting through the EDM haze. Later, on the rooftop, city lights sprawling, he pulled me close. "You're electric tonight. You're not so bad yourself." The kiss deepened, promising more, but my mind flickered to another rooftop, another promise. I pushed it down, focusing on now. Thanksgiving solo loomed, but Javier's family in Oakland filled the gap. Tamales steaming, TIAs pinching cheeks, stories in Spanglish weaving a net of warmth. "Mi artista," his mom called me, pressing leftovers into my hands. Gratitude swelled. For this patchwork family. For the man beside me who saw my scars and stayed. December brought snow, rare for the Bay, and with it closure's whisper. Sean's sequel doc streamed nationwide. Reviews praising its unflinching humanity. A congrats text pinged. Watched. Blew me away. Proud. His reply, "Means a lot. How's the city treating you?" We met neutral. Tartine for mantras and coffee, steam rising like old habits. He looked good, LA glow, hair longer, a new earring glinting. "Seeing someone," he said casual, stirring foam. "Artist. Keeps me grounded." "Javier," I shared, the name a release. "Painter. Good guy." Conversation flowed easy. Projects, laughs, no thorns. "We were the right story at the wrong time," he mused, eyes soft. "Or the story that wrote us better ones." We hugged goodbye, lingering but light, the fog lifting as I walked home. New Year dawned with Javier. Fireworks from his roof, champagne fizzing, resolutions whispered. "To us," he toasted, and I clinked, heart full. But stories twist. February, a client gig took me to LA brand refresh for a queer media startup. Nerves jangled on the flight, the city sprawling sun-baked below. Meetings aced, but downtime led to a bar in Silver Lake, craft beers and vinyl spins. There sat Sean, solo at the counter, nursing a whiskey sour. Small world. I slid onto the stool, pulse quickening. Or scripted. His smile, genuine, eased the air. We talked shop. My murals, his pilot pitch, laughter bubbling unforced. "Javier treating you right?" "Yeah." "You think so?" Pause. Then, "Miss our signal sometimes." "Me too." Honesty, unbarbed. He walked me to my hotel, night air jasmine scented. At the door, a hug stretched, his breath warm on my neck. "Take care" codes. "You too." No kiss, no regret, just peace. Back in SF, Javier sensed the shift. Old flames flicker? Over ramen steam curling. Flickered. Extinguished. I took his hand. You're mine now. Spring bloomed tentative. Cherry petals dusting Javier's studio as we collabed on a mural for the center. Vibrant waves crashing into hearts. His brushstrokes complemented my lines. A harmony I'd craved. Yet May brought fracture. Agency restructure. Layoffs loomed. My role on the chop block. Panic clawed stability I'd clawed for. Slipping. Javier held space. His apartment a refuge for late-night frets. We'll pivot, he echoed Sean's old line. And we did. Freelance hustles. Pop-up shows that sold out. June Pride was triumphant. Our mural unveiled. Crowds snapping pics. Javier's arm around me as confetti rained. That night, hotel rooftop. Echoes again, he proposed. Ring a twisted wire of copper and gold. Paint this life with me? Tears pricked. Yes. Summer wedding planning wove joy. Beach vows at Stinson. Potluck reception with Mia officiating. Tyler toasting to second acts. Sean sent a card. Broadcasting love. Yours forever in waves. Fall deepened roots. Cohabitation in a sunny no-pa flat. Canvases and drafting tables sharing space. Javier's first solo show. Abstracts inspired by our fractures. Drew raves. My posters the perfect frame. Thanksgiving with families blended. His boisterous TIAs. My folks thawing over pie. Dad even cracking a joke about designing a better world. Laughter echoed. Full circle. December. Anniversary Eve. We climbed Twin Peaks. City twinkling below. Rings glinting in moonlight. To signals. Javier toasted. Flask passed. To frequencies found. The kiss sealed it vast as the bay. But life scripts twists. January a call. Sean, voice tight. Cancer. Early treatable. But scared. Heart clenched. I'm here. Always. Flights shuttled me south. Javier understanding. Go be his anchor. Hospital waits, his hand in mine during chemo fog. Stories swapped like medicine. You saved me once, he whispered, bald head gleaming under fluorescence. Now return the favor. Remission came spring, his grin returning with fuzz. New chapter. Ours too. Hugs at LAX, promises of visits. Summer, Javier and I hiked Yosemite. Echo of old paths. Rings catching sun on Half Dome. Grateful. I breathed, valley echoing. Life human, mended, not perfect. Signals adapt, stories evolve. And in the broadcast, love endures loud, unbroken. Remission's glow faded into the relentless churn of routine, but Sean's recovery became a quiet undercurrent in our lives. A reminder that fragility threads through even the strongest narratives. Javier and I settled deeper into our no-pa nest, the flat evolving from blank canvas to lived-in gallery. His abstracts climbing the walls in asymmetrical frames, my design boards propped against the breakfast bar, sketches of app interfaces mingling with color swatches for his next series. Mornings started slow. Espresso grinding in the French press he'd salvaged from an estate sale. Sunlight slanting through the bay window to gild our tangled feet under the duvet. Another day to paint the town. He'd quip, stealing a kiss before his studio commute, leaving me with the scent of turpentine and resolve. Work steadied after the layoffs. I pivoted to a boutique firm in the Embarcadero, specializing in immersive experiences. VR tours for museums, augmented reality for pride events. The creativity surged, a rebound from the agency's corporate grind, and Javier's encouragement fueled it. Your lines breathe, amor. Make 'em dance. Evenings, we debrief over Casio e Pepe, his fork-twirling pasta as I ranted about glitchy code. His laugh a punctuation that grounded me. Sean's updates came sporadic. Texts with thumbs-up emojis post-treatment. Voice memos of him narrating LA sunsets from his balcony. Clear scans again. Raising a green juice to you both. We'd video call monthly, Javier chiming in with art critiques on Sean's recovery doodles. Stick figure radios beaming hearts. It was easy, this triad of care. No jealousy, just shared history woven into new fabric. One weekend, We flew down for his victory lap barbecue in Echo Park. Vegan tacos from a truck, indie playlist thumping, his producer crew toasting to the unbreakable signal. Sean pulled me aside by the string lights, eyes clear. Seeing you happy, that's the real remission. You too, I said, clapping his shoulder, the hug brief but loaded. Javier caught my eye from across the yard, raising his beer, solid, unwavering. Fall brought expansion. Javier's mural commission for the De Young, a massive piece on queer icons in the American wing. I consulted on the digital mock-up, projecting it life-size in our living room till neighbors banged on the walls with "Tone it down, please." Installation day, scaffolding and spray cans. We ascended like urban alchemists, his cobalt waves crashing against my gold filigree accents. Critics raved, a vibrant dialogue between form and feeling, and the opening reception buzzed with collectors, one snapping up prints before the paint dried. My own milestone, a solo exhibit at the SOM Arts Cultural Center, Frequencies, visual echoes of love and loss. Canvases hybrid, digital prints layered with hand-painted fractures, told our story abstractly, shattered waveforms mending into spectra. Sean flew up for the vernissage, Javier curating the wine flow. "This is you, Codes?" Sean said, glass in hand, tracing a piece titled Static Heart, the noise that births the song. Javier beamed beside him, arm around my waist. Our collab, every layer. Winter holidays merge traditions. Javier's Noche Buena with piñatas and rum punch. My folks hosting a hybrid feast. Turkey alongside tamales. Dad fumbling a toast to family, however it grows. Sean's invite warmed. Echo Park solstice? Bring the art duo. We did, arriving with a commissioned piece, a small abstract of radio waves in desert hues. His place glowed with candles, a circle of friends sharing solstice stories under pepper trees. To light in the dark, we chorused, flames flickering like promises kept. New Year resolved gentle. More travel, less hustle. A February getaway to Big Sur. Echo of that first road trip. Rental cabin perched on cliffs, waves thundering below. Javier sketched the horizon, charcoals smudging his fingers, while I coded a simple AR filter. Point your phone, see our rings shimmer in the foam. Tech magic, he marveled, testing it at dusk, the overlay casting golden halos. Nights by the fireplace, bodies close, we dreamed aloud, expanding the studio, maybe a joint residency in Berlin. Spring unearthed roots. A letter from Mom, postmarked Sacramento, words spilling tentative. Miss you. Therapy's helping us too. Visit. Javier and I drove down, the valley blooming riotous. Over coffee in her kitchen. Same Formica counters of my youth. She shared her own closeted doubts. Faith wrestling acceptance. Dad joined gruff, admitting, proud son, of the man you're building. Hugs lingered, the fracture mending slow but sure. Sean's life paralleled. His pilot greenlit, a docuseries on undocumented voices, filming in the Southwest. Road warrior again, he joked in a call, wind whipping behind him. But grounded now, girlfriend's a cinematographer, keeps the lens steady. Bring her north sometime, and we meant it, the circle widening without strain. Summer scorched, festivals calling. Coachella for Javier's side gig, live painting on a stage wing. Me managing the merch booth, slinging tees emblazoned with our motifs. Dust-caked and euphoric, we collapsed in the VIP tent, bass rumbling through our bones. This is living, he shouted over the drop, and I nodded, high on him. Back home, a whisper of change. Javier's whisper over breakfast. Gallery in New York scouting me. Residency, 6 months. Heart stuttered. Solo? Us if you can swing remote. His eyes searched, hopeful. I waited, agency flexible, freelance booming. Let's scout it. Together. NYC hit electric. Lofts in Bushwick, galleries humming with biennial buzz. We crashed to opening in Chelsea. Champagne flutes clinking amid Basquiat's. Javier's portfolio drawing murmurs. It's a yes, the director said over dim sum the next day. Elation surged, but undercurrent tugged, uprooting again, after LA's lesson. Fall packing was bittersweet. Boxes labeled studio essentials. Farewell dinner with Mia and Tyler at the slanted door. Toasts to new waves. Sean's flight synced. Layover in San Francisco airport for a quick airport beer. Brooklyn suits you, he predicted, hugging tight. Just don't ghost the West Coast. Never. LAX to JFK. Javier's head on my shoulder. City shrinking to lights below. New York devoured. Subway symphonies, bodega bagels. His residency in a warehouse turned atelier. I freelanced from coffee shops, pitching AR experiences for MoMA exhibits. Nights we roamed. High-line strolls at dusk, his hand in mine. Skyline a jagged promise. Our third act, he teased. And I laughed, the player long archived. Winter bit. Blizzards blanketing the East River. Cabin fever sparking collaborations. A digital mural for the new museum. His paints over my code. Sean's series dropped. Emmy's buzz. A virtual watch party where we cheered via Zoom. His girlfriend waving from frame right. Spring thawed with opportunity. My pitch landed. A queer VR festival in Tribeca. Immersive worlds of reclaimed narratives. Javier consulted visuals, our synergy the secret sauce. Premiere night. Headsets on crowds gasping at fractured hearts reforming in virtual space. Reviews glowed. A bold broadcast of the soul. Summer solstice. Rooftop in Williamsburg. String lights and sangria. Friends from the scene toasting our year. Javier pulled a box. Matching pendants, waves etched in silver. To riding them. Tears pricked. Always. But autumn whispered test. Javier's residency extended. Another year, gallery contract. Stay? He asked, hopeful in our loft, city hum below. Temptation ward, roots deepening. But California called. Folks aging, Sean's invites warm. 6 more months, I countered. Then west. His nod, reluctant. For us. Holiday split. Me to Sacramento for Thanksgiving, him to Oakland. Texts bridged. Turkey triumphs? TIA's tamales unbeatable. Christmas in New York, tree topped with a wireframe star. Gifts unwrapped slow. His accustomed stylus. Mine a leather folio for his sketches. January chilled resolve. Agency pulled strings for a hybrid role, but distance nod. One night, post-argument over time zones. His late critique, my missed flight words sharpened. I need you here, he said, voice cracking. I'm trying, but doubt seeded. Was this the fracture's echo? February, Valentine's. Sean's wedding invite pinged. Simple desert affair. We flew west, Javier and I in linen suits, vows under saguaros. To signals eternal. The officiant intoned, and Sean's eyes met mine grateful. Reception dance, Javier spun me under stars. Miss this energy. Me too. The pull sharpened. March decision. I can't stay. Over falafel in the village. Tears salting hummus. Not without you full time. Let's go home. Relief flooded his face. West it is. Spring exodus. Sublet signed. Canvases crated. Last walk high line, hands linked. New York was our bridge, he said. To stronger shores. SF welcomed. Sublet in Potrero Hill. Views of the bridge fog-kissed. Agency reinstated. Javier's remote gigs flowing. Summer reunion. Beach bonfire with the crew. Sean's tales of married bliss. Mia's finally. The art power couple settles. Fall harvest. Joint exhibit at SMOMA affiliate. Waves and wires. Our collab exploding in color and code. Crowds swelled. Critics crowed. Winter wrapped warm. Solstice circle. Pendants glinting. To us, Javier toasted. To every frequency. Life romantic. Peaks and valleys but human, deep, enduring. The Potrero perch became our sanctuary. The hills incline a daily reminder to climb, not coast. Javier's studio bloomed in the spare room. Easels angled to catch the morning slant off the bay. Turpentine tang mingling with my decaf brew. Mornings ritualized. Him at canvas. Brush whispering across linen. Me at drafting table, stylus dancing pixels into life. Syncopation, he'd call our rhythm, syncing his strokes to my playlist. Nile Rodgers funk underscoring the scratch of charcoal. Afternoons spilled into collabs. His abstracts digitized for my AR filters. Installations popping at tech meetups where venture bros gawked at art tech fusion. Sean's orbit stabilized. Quarterly visits, his wife Elena a quick study with wicked dry wit. Her camera capturing our chaos for his vlogs. You two are the rom-com B-plot, she'd tease, zooming on Javier mid-rant about Prussian blue shortages. Barbecues on our tiny deck became tradition, lamb souvlaki sizzling, Elena's salads crisp with heirloom tomatoes, stories swapping like cards. His Emmy nod, my VR grant, Javier's Met Commission tease. Fall foliage dusted the headlands as we hiked Land's End, salt wind whipping, ruins of Sutro baths crumbling like old scripts. 10 years since dorm days, Sean mused, Elena's arm looped in his. Feels like yesterday's broadcast. Or tomorrow's sequel, I countered, Javier's hand warm in mine. Laughter echoed off the waves, the past a gentle undertow, not riptide. Thanksgiving anchored. Families converging at my folks. Thais commandeering the kitchen. Dad manning the smoker with uncharacteristic flair. To kin, Mom toasted, eyes misty over candied yams. Her hand finding Elena's in a quiet bridge. Nightcap on the porch, stars pricking the Central Valley dark. Javier sketched constellations on a napkin. Sean narrating myths. Cassiopeia, the chained queen, but unchained in story. Like us, Elena added, and we clinked mugs, cocoa steaming. Winter solstice called north. Cabin in Tahoe, snow blanketing pines like forgiveness. We four, doubled pairs, built fires and forts, snowball skirmishes dissolving into mulled wine confessions. Grief's a season, Sean shared, Elena's head on his shoulder, recounting a recent loss, her abuela, swift and shattering. Javier nodded, recounting his own. Father's fade during the residency. But joy's the thaw. New Year dawned crisp. Resolutions scrawled on frost-lace glass. Amplify. Mine red. For bolder pitches. Back in the city, momentum built. My VR festival expanded. Immersive worlds touring South by Southwest. Javier's panels on decolonizing canvas drawing lines around mode. Collab deepened. A joint installation for the Asian Art Museum. His inks over my projections. Lanterns flickering tales of diaspora loves. Spring unearthed legacy. Mom's cancer diagnosis, stage 1, treatable but terrifying. Echoes of Sean's fight mobilized us. Flights shuttled. Meal trains organized. Javier cooked pozole by her bedside. Sean zoomed pep talks from Ellie, you're the matriarch. He told her, voice steady. Broadcast that strength. Remission mirrored his, summer scans clear, her hug fierce. You boys, my anchors. Pride amplified. Our float a interactive AR barge. Crowds scanning for hidden stories. Queer elders' voices blooming in holograms. Javier painted live on the stage wing, colors slashing rainbow riots, me cueing the code. Elena filmed for Sean's series, Pride Signals, capturing the thrum. Fall harvest. Wedding vow renewal for us. Beachside at Baker Beach. Waves lapping like applause. Mia officiated again, Tyler best man ing with a ring toss gag. Sean and Elena stood witnesses, petals scattering in the breeze. To recommit, Javier vowed. Eyes locked on mine, sand gritting our toes. Reception bonfire, guitars strumming, dances barefoot till dawn. Sean's series wrapped Emmy Gold. Live from the Shrine Auditorium, his speech a nod. To the frequencies that found me, Cody, Javier, Elena. You tuned the static to song. We watched streamed. Champagne popping, Javier's whoop echoing our flat. Winter wrapped introspective. Javier's Met show, ferrying east for the gala. Gowns swirling, his piece fractured tide's centerpiece. Waves crashing in cerulean fury. Critics lauded emotional architecture. Collectors bidding fierce. Return flight, his head on my shoulder. We did that. Spring bloomed collaborative. A nonprofit launch, Signal Youth. mentorship for queer artists, my VR workshops paired with Javier's painting intensives, Sean's media training rounding, first cohort, wide-eyed teens sketching dreams, their stories raw as ours once were. One kid, echo of me, player facade cracking, whispered post-session, thanks for showing it's okay to rewrite. Summer solstice circled back, rooftop in the mission, full circle from that first prompt. String lights twinkled, friends orbiting, Mia pregnant now, Tyler hitched, Sean and Elena via video toasting from their deck. Javier pulled me aside, pendant glinting. 15 years since the exposure. Best plot twist. Kiss under stars, city humming below. But humanity tempers triumph. Elena's pregnancy announcement. Joy laced with Sean's quiet fear. What if I'm not enough? Calls deepened, his vulnerabilities aired like old tapes. You are, I assured, Javier chiming. Fatherhood's your next frequency. Fall harvest yielded. Mom's clean bill. A family trip to Napa. Vineyards rolling, tastings tipsy with laughter. Dad uncorked a '98 cab. Toasting to health, to you all. Sunsets painted us golden, bonds vine thick. Thanksgiving sprawled. Tables groaning under fusion feasts, TIAs and folks trading recipes. Elena's bumped the star. Stories cascaded. Grandkids on horizon. Legacies sketched. Winter solstice, Tahoe encore. Now with babes in tow? Nah, just us four. Fireside vows refreshed. To enduring waves. Sean raised Elena's hand on his. Spring unearthed. My book deal. Frequencies. Designing Queer Futures. Illustrations by Javier. Launch at Books Incorporated. Lines snaking Shattuck, faces familiar, that first workshop kid now interning. Sean keynote. Cody's lines mapped my voice. Summer Pride crescendo. Our mentorship debuted a youth float, their AR stories beaming. Javier live-painted their mural, me cueing the glow. Elena's doc captured it. Sean's voiceover. From static to symphony. Fall wrapped prolific. Javier's residency return offer. SF-based. Hybrid. Ours. We signed. Sean's bundle arrived spring. Baby girl, signals wailing. Visit LA. Tiny fists clutching my finger. Javier cooing Spanglish lullabies. Auntie and uncle report. Elena grinned. Exhausted beatific. Summer solstice. 20 years post-exposure. Expanded circle on that mission roof. New faces, old anchors. Sean cradled his daughter, Elena beaming. Mia's toddler toddling. Javier and I, pendants synced, raised flutes. To the broadcast. To the human hum. Life's finale? No, mid-story, rich with revision. The player exposed. Fallen. Risen. In love's frequency, we all endure. Dramatic, emotional, romantic, humane. American as the bay's endless roll.